1. Jesus uses irony, humor. A. Does God have a sense of humor? Does God laugh? Does God think some of the things humans do is funny? How did God use humor in the Bible to teach vital eternal lessons? Was Jesus always sorrowful and serious during his ministry? On the other hand, was he sometimes playful and fun to be around? Did he ever use colorful language, hyperbole, irony, wit, or make tongue-in-cheek statements that showed he knew what it meant to be funny? B. It only makes sense that since our Creator made man after himself, and we know we have a sense of humor, that God would have a sense of humor too. If we can look around us and find things funny or humorous, so can God. Those who study the Bible can become so familiar with its verses and teachings that they forget to step back and consider what they read from a different angle. We need to change our perspective of the Bible to discover the wide variety of humor found within its pages. C. For example, see if you can discover the humor in one of Jesus' well-known parables he gave during one of his most well-known messages. I. 41. And why do you look at the sliver that is in your brother's eye, but you do not perceive the beam that is in your own eye? First cast out the beam from your own eye. Luke 6:41-42. D. A small child reading the above verses would laugh at the idea of a man with a big wood beam in his eye trying to find a speck or sliver of wood in someone else's eye. Taken literally, these verses appear ludicrous and silly, but that's the point. Christ used a humorous, exaggerated analogy to drive home the concept that before we pick on the little faults and flaws of others, we need to take a hard look at our own giant shortcomings. E. Another example of biblical humor is how God stopped a prophet from cursing the children of Israel. The story begins when King Balak, fearful of the children of Israel as they journey to the promised land, hires a prophet to curse them. The prophet for hire is named Balaam. He asks God if it is all right to curse the Israelites. God tells him not to curse his people for they are blessed. A while later Balaam asks God again if he can curse Israel. God allows him to travel to Balak with some of the king's princes. The prophet is ultimately rebuked by a donkey who is only trying to save his life. Numbers 22:21-30. F. One of the funniest parts of this story is that Balaam shows no surprise that he is suddenly able to hold a conversation with a donkey. The Psalms tell us God is certainly able to laugh, but you, O Lord, shall laugh at them. Psalm 59:8. 2. Jesus uses irony. A. Jesus, as he drew near the city of Caesarea Philippi, asked the disciples what did people say about him. After getting several responses, he asks them what is their view regarding him. Peter then makes a bold reply that only God the Father could have inspired. He, Jesus, said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus answered and said to him, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I also say to you that you are Peter, a rock." Matthew 16:15-18. B. Just a short time after Peter is nicknamed the Rock, he attempts to correct Jesus. The response he got was swift. But he, Jesus, turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." Verse 23. C. Peter's behavior was not exactly what you would expect from a rock of faith. Sometime after this event, it was Peter who, after Jesus' arrest, denied him 3 times after he boldly proclaimed that even if all the other disciples leave him, he would not. Matthew 26:33-35. Nevertheless, with God's help, he eventually did live up to the new name given to him by Jesus.